Hello. Hello, good evening. Hi, everybody. Ciao. Voila. Hello. Thank you for joining this evening. And we're going to wait a couple of minutes so we see if we can start all together. As we mentioned in our last session, Azura is not here. She's still on holiday, on vacation in the Eastern world. She's, I think, in Cambodia or Vietnam, Mr. Traces over the past few weeks. And so I will be your guide for this session and also for the session of the day after tomorrow, where we are going to dive into some frameworks in our work. And we're going to have 2 sessions on that. So half of the content will be delivered in a couple of days, and then we're going to have the next session on some other frameworks and key concepts in our work. And of course, every concept will have attached to it its own practices. So this is the program for the next 2 sessions. And for today, the idea is that we are going to start with a practice that I will guide to land into the session, reactivate your connection with your body in case you may need it. And so we are all on the same page as we start then to share your insights, your reflections. And since it looks like it's not so much people online, I think we are going to do everything together. So we are not going to split in subgroups, so we can all hear the experiences you did and what you got out of them. So this is the idea for this session, and thank you for joining from such a diverse collection of time zones. I can see China, I can see Australia, I can see Italy and Canada and the States, and it's amazing. And the UK perhaps. So thanks again for joining, whichever time zone you're in at the moment. So to start, I would like you to think about a specific natural subject that has been particularly relevant or interesting for you over the past few weeks. It can be a plant, an animal, or another kind of natural elements like the sea or whatever comes to mind. Just do this scavenger hunt in your memories from the past 3 weeks. Which natural subject stands out the most? And so raise your hand if you have it in your memory, in your mind. So I can see if everybody has a companion. Not yet everybody, almost everybody. Okay, Jonathan has it. Augustina, you do? Yes, you have a natural subject that you can recall for this practice. Okay, great. So great, thanks everybody. So the idea is that you will start, I will stand up just because it feels better in my body to do this practice standing up. And the idea is that you will start recalling in your mind this natural subject and let your body respond to this memory in this moment with the purpose to stretch a little bit, engage your body a little bit, becoming gradually the natural subject that you are recalling now. Okay, so this is the idea. And I'm standing up. You do not need to watch the screen, but you need to hear my voice. And if this natural subject is accessible to you now, like, I don't know, it's your pet or a plant you have in your house or outdoors that you can see, you can work with the actual real subject. Otherwise, you just start by picturing it in your mind and just recalling perhaps a moment that you shared with this natural being, Perhaps you were doing a practice or just hanging out with this natural being, staying there and just looking at it, watching it, and finding your way to connect with this natural being the way you preferred in that moment over the past few weeks. So you have it in your mind and you notice how your body would like to respond to this memory. So you can keep your eyes open if you are connecting with the real natural subject in this moment, or you can keep your eyes closed to better connect with your mind, with the memory of this natural subject. So I have my eyes closed because it's a subject that I met yesterday and it was a river flowing. So if you have your eyes closed or open, whatever it is, just notice what's in your body willing to start moving a little bit, to synchronize the movement with the movement of that being, or if it was a natural being very still, without movement, just let your body take the shape of the natural being that you're now reconnecting with. And it's not really about doing something, but more about letting your body respond to the vision, to the imagination, to the memory. Just notice what's in your body that wants to respond, creating some movement or gesture or posture that feels like a response and not an exercise or something you have to do. And notice what's the pace of the movement, gesture, or posture. Well, if it's a posture, it's a bit static, perhaps, but perhaps there's anyway a breathing in this posture that can synchronize to the breathing, to the subtle or very evident breathing of the natural subject you are recalling. So it's not only the shape your body is taking, is also the breathing or the movement that animates it. And notice which parts of your body want to respond more or feel more engaged in this reconnecting with this visual memory. And expand what you are doing until somehow your whole body feels engaged. This can mean to make your movement bigger or any other way that your body can find to let this memory of this natural subject enter every single cell, animate every single aspect of your body, of your breathing. If you could give a name to the quality of perception that you're having of yourself, experiencing what you're experiencing, what word would you use? to express this emergent quality in your being as you reconnect with your chosen natural being. And if you found this word, just savor it as you keep experiencing what you're doing, the gesture, posture, or movement. Anchor this word in the experience your body is doing and savor it and let it expand even more. Until you can find just a single movement that really captures the essence of this practice for you. And you find a way to memorize it, repeat it sometimes, and just make sure that you're able to repeat it in a few moments. And then you can start making this body response smaller and smaller and smaller with your own time, no hurry. Until you find yourself in a place of stillness. And you can find your way back on your seat in front of the screen, not yet opening the webcam if you closed it. Just a moment again for yourself. No need to connect with me on the screen. Just find your way back to your seat. And if you want, you can keep your eyes closed or just place your gaze a little bit down so you still are with yourself. And let's take a moment to notice the difference, if any, inside your body, inside your perception. Notice what feels most alive in this moment inside the perimeter of your skin. Notice what's more present, vibrant, warm. And notice also the parts of yourself that are less warm, less vibrant, less present, if any. And let's do a review of the different parts of our bodies, starting from the feet. Let's notice how are our feet in this moment and what perceptions come from that part of us. And hello, feet. How are you today? How is your day? And hello, ankles. How are you? What perceptions come from your ankles? And let's go up through the lower leg to the knee. Let's notice what comes from this part of our body. And hello, knees. How are you today? And notice if anything happens as you say hello to the various parts of your body, if there's any response from them, if something happens or not. And let's go up through the upper legs to our sitting bones. And let's have a comprehensive perception of our legs, from the sitting bones to the feet. Hello, legs. How are you today? How is it like to be my legs today? Is there anything you would like to tell me, legs, or feet, or knees? And see if there's anything that you would like to tell your legs, or any part of them. And now let's place our attention on the pelvis, all the organs in there, everything that sits between our hips. We can even place our hands there if it's okay for you. The lower back. And hello. Hello, you all. How are you today? How are you, belly? And let's move up to what is our front, the torso. Everything inside our rib cage, the stomach, the liver, the lungs, the heart. And also the back, the middle, the higher back, the upper back, your wings, until your shoulders. And hello, trunk. How are you? Hello, heart. Hello, lungs. Hello, stomach. How is it like to be my heart, to be my lungs, etc. today? And notice if there's any specific part of your trunk that wants to provide a response. Notice how your breath is moving through your trunk, your vertebral tree. And if there's any message you would like to send your body through your breathing, you can do it now. And let's place our attention on both our arms, from our shoulders down to the hand and the heart of your hands. And notice how your heart and the heart of your hands are connected through your arms. And you can lift your hands in the air and do some subtle movements with your fingers as you are, as if these fingers are like organs of sense, sensory organs, and they can touch the air. And like explore the air around you with these sensory organs on the tip of your fingers. And notice if this subtle movement generates a kind of response in the heart of your hands. And how can your hands and this subtle exploration of your fingertips be in service of an expanded sensory awareness of your heart? And everything is very gentle in your wrists, in your shoulders. No effort or just a minimum effort to support this exploration of your fingertips and your hands' hearts until your hands come back to a place of stillness on your lap or wherever feels comfortable. And you can notice if this subtle exploration has left any sensations or additional perception in the trait of you that links heart and hands' hearts. And last part, let's move our attention into our head, our skull, and everything inside of it. And the sensations that come from inside your skull and also from your face. And how is it to be your head today? Hello, head. What would you like to tell me? Hello, face. How is it to be my face today? And again, see if there's any message you want to send to your head, to your face, to your brain, whatever catches your attention from this part of your body. And last thing, let's see if we can embrace in one single attention all the perceptions that come from inside your skin, from the feet to the top of your head. Let's embrace it all. The perception of everything that you may define you, hold by the boundary of your skin. And you may even notice that this sense of I, of me, extends a little bit beyond the boundary of your skin. The volume that your material body occupies. Perhaps there's a sense of warmth that goes a little bit beyond your skin. Your electromagnetic field extends beyond your skin, and perhaps you can sense it somehow. And we take the next breath that you're going to take to savor this sensation of expansion beyond the boundary of your skin. You inhale, and as you exhale, you notice that something is extending beyond the boundary of your skin. Like you're a breathing sponge, and with every out breath, your breath goes a little bit farther than the boundary of your skin. And in this sensation of expanding your body, perhaps you can see, sense, feel, or imagine that some of the practices that you did are still there in some parts of your body. So this last piece of this contemplative practice is really to observe inside the extended body you have now, where are the practices that you did over the past 3 weeks? Where are the traces in your body of those practices? And let's take some time to see if anything emerges from this intention to notice the traces of your practices inside your body. And as soon as you have these perceptions, With your own time, you will find your way to open your eyes if you have them closed. And find your way back to the screen in your own time. No hurry. When you're ready, you will just switch on the camera and you will find me here. Voila. Okay. And before opening the microphone and hear your stories from the past 3 weeks, I would just like to invite you to place in the chat anything from this practice. It can be the last question I asked, so any trace in your body of your practices, what did you discover? What was still alive? What did you find? Or it can be one of the messages that you got from your body, if anything came up, or a message that you sent to your body, or anything from this practice, including it was not comfortable, it was too long, I didn't land very well, anything, okay, is welcome. So let's see if somebody wants to share anything. I appreciated the conversation with my body, feeling a lot of gratitude for my body. Yes, for me, that was the same. Every time I was telling you, see if you want to send a message to your body, I also did it. And the only thing that I wanted to send every time was a thank you. So I resonate a lot with you, Alison. And some one case also, and excuse me for asking you so much. I enjoyed the playfulness. I still feel my practice in the soles of my feet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've been vacationing by the ocean and I feel the ocean waves sync with my breath and my body glowing from the sun. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I found a lot of traces of practices in my legs and in my back. Sense of strength in my back, especially as I was stretching along the trunk of trees, and also a sense of openness and lots of movement after some practices in a small river where I was over the past few days. It was really exciting. I may send a photo in the chat later. Message to body was about grounding and relaxation. I was at the ocean yesterday and can still feel the feeling of grounding and expansion. It brought a wholesome of spaciousness. Mm-hmm. Can you raise your hand if this practice was too long? Because it ended up being longer than I thought. Yeah, okay. For one person it was, thank you. For two persons it was, yeah, okay. Yeah, three, yeah, I can understand. That's why I was asking. It's just that, yeah, I wanted to do it and then it had a certain time for me. I couldn't rush it. Mm-mm. Thank you for your feedback. Enjoyed to move with my element, the ocean, the dance of the ocean, space and ease. I love the body activation. My natural element was the olive tree. I really started to feel myself a tree. I apologize to my body for not treating it as well as I should have in some ways. I thank my legs for being available to me for 44 years without question. I felt cognizant of feeling like a vessel in my memory of a waterfall and swimming pond. Wow. I've been working with moss and was surprised to feel the response of my body here in my living room by imagining it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, somehow when we recall an image or a memory of movement, of the presence of a certain being, it creates a response in our felt sense, in our inner sensations. So something we use a lot is really embodied visualizations, like the ones I proposed in the beginning. So you have an imagination and you let it land inside your body, and you just let the body respond through movement, body gestures or body postures to the imagination. So it's letting an image down into the body and just letting your body respond. Just the contemplative practice was for me too long, but the body activation was perfect. I used to do meditation and I prefer silent meditation. I can understand. Thank you. At the beginning, coming into slowing down brought lots of yawns, absolutely. Let body know would rest tonight. Now feel connected to expansion beyond skin. Okay, thank you all for sharing some feedback from this practice. And the idea of these moments of practice is also to give you experiences of other ways to work with body and nature. Every time we propose something different so that we can have an array of different ways, and some resonate more with us, some other less. In some other cases, it's just a matter of making it shorter. And so the idea for me is always to offer ideas that you can then customize to your preferences, to who you are, the rest of your experiences. So now going into the review of your practices. Okay, now we are a little more than how many we were at the beginning. So I'm wondering what would be the best way to share, because I would really like to listen to your voices at this moment. So perhaps raise your hand if your body is here in the session, so I can have an idea. One. Ok, perfetto. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Perfect. So we at least have 4 pairs. So the idea would be that, okay, so some people don't have the body. So I would like to listen for sure to the bodies first, so we can have double voice feedback on what was your experience, but to organize the sharing in a way that would allow everybody to also share. I would like you to focus on these 3 topics mainly. So one is, has your plan changed? So any change that you noticed from the plan you had at the beginning and what you actually ended up practicing. And some key aspects of learning or insight or reflections on your topic, if you had one. That was my proposal. Find a topic and use the practices to shift your inner space, to find resources, answers, insights that can help you on your chosen topic. So any change in your plan from the beginning to now, and any insights, reflection, that came up for you related to your topic, without the need to explain the topic really, but just giving us a sense if what you did, what you practiced, and the relation with your body added value to your exploration of your topic, your question, your intention to use the practices in a certain direction. And then beside these 2 questions, is there's anything really relevant that you would like to share with us all for the spirit of creating awareness about the impact of the practice plan, the biophilic aspects of it, the budding, anything really relevant that can help our collective brain to learn together, then it's welcome. So who would like to start sharing anything is welcome. And if any pair wants to start, then we can do a pair of bodies and unpair the person on this call, and let's go a pair and a single person, and so on. How would you like to move on? Let's see if there's anybody already ready. And the purpose of this sharing is really to create awareness about the impact of the practice, um, the usefulness or uselessness of it, or just nurture our collective brain. And Caroline, yes, please.
Hi, I'll start. I thought you said body, not buddy. My buddy is not here. She's I don't
Okay.
know, in the Zoom call.
Okay,
Um,
no problem. Yeah.
but
Who
anyway,
was your buddy?
Lucinda.
Lucinda. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe some context as well. So Lucinda is pregnant, and I'm currently on vacation on the west coast of the United States. So both of us, we had intentions of our plans, and then she obviously prioritized her pregnancy and her health and those things. And my intention was to continue practicing while on vacation. But then you notice that while being on vacation with family and friends, your life is out of routine. So there was less of a plan. But what I did notice, there was one day we went to botanical gardens, and even though I couldn't practice the practices that I wanted to listen to, just being in the botanical gardens and appreciating the nature, and then just stopping and taking some time to hug a tree. So I hugged a tree. Or then there's a few benches there. So I sat down and let the sun like capture my body. Um, so it was more different real life practices. Even though I was on vacation and I was busy, I still tried to kind of navigate around how to practice within my busyness. And for instance, another time while we were by the ocean, the simple practice of just closing your eyes and listening to the waves and syncing up with the breath is also a different kind of practice. So I would say in sum, as much as I wanted to stick to my plan, and I did make a plan, sometimes you don't stick to your plan, but you find other ways to connect with nature and with your breath during busy lives, vacation times, family time, you know. Yeah, that's it from my side at the moment.
Did you notice any benefit from these practices from over the past 3 weeks?
I definitely made more of an effort to go on a daily walk. I do go on walks, but I made more of an effort to sync it up with my breath. I did a lot of walking meditations. Um, and I noticed that I myself become a little more calmer and step slowly in life rather than doing it quickly.
Mhm. So it made you a bit slower. And yeah, is this something that you were doing also before this course, or just something new that made you more consistent with your intention?
Yeah. I was doing it before this course, but now there's more consistency and more intention, and trying to find those little moments during busy days of where you can appreciate the sun, or when you can hug a tree, or when you sit by water and listen to the water. So doing that intentionally, and appreciating it for what it is.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Caroline. Thanks a lot. Who else wants to go? Jonathan, please.
Okay, so Claudia is my buddy
Mhm.
and best buddy in the world. No offense to everyone else. Um, so the plan started. So the first question is, how has your plan changed? And I think for me, I am not used to hugging a tree, for example, right? And so there's a lot of self-consciousness. And where I live, there aren't a lot of places to find trees where there aren't going to be random passerbys coming around. And so I actually found myself a little inhibited um, from interaction with trees, and I tried to do it a little bit more in my yard, but really my focus became more on the smaller practices, and particularly what I was going to say actually in response to today's, you asked the question of how long today's sort of meditation was, and was that too long for people? And I raised my hand, is that my mind does move fast. So it's very hard to still my mind. It's actually like very much an exercise, which I can sustain for so long. And then beyond that, it becomes a lot more arduous. So I actually found that the turning 360 um, in the environment allowed me to both calm my mind, but also have dynamism and movement at the same time, and sort of like be able to be aware of various dynamics in the landscape and their unique traits, even though they're part of the whole. So I actually found that that was a really great way to sort of calm and settle myself, and also do it in such a way that I didn't feel um, self-conscious about it, right? Which I think is something that probably a lot of people may feel if they don't have complete privacy in some of these activities. So at first I would sort of like admonish myself for not having the sort of free heart to just say, who gives a fuck what anybody thinks? I'm going to go hug a tree in front of the world, right? But then I let it go and I just said, look, this is one of my sensitivities. And if that's not where I feel comfortable, move into the space and prioritize where I do feel comfortable first. And maybe I'll arrive at that later on, or find a private time for myself for that. So that's the first part. The key aspects of learning.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before you go, so based on these experiences you did, what do you understand is a good I mean, which ingredients do you think you need to enjoy practice? Because I noticed something, but I would just like you to articulate them so you can make them clear. So which are the key ingredients you need in a practice to enjoy it?
I think it's a hard question to answer. I'm not sure. I would say that off the top of my head, maybe some defined time where I'm not accountable to outside requirements and pressures. Some privacy, and also trying to find a space that other people aren't. I mean, I guess it's part of privacy. So I would say those two things, time and privacy, you know.
Like the foundation. And then I also noticed you said you need some dynamism somehow.
Yeah, yes. That also, in terms of my quiet and my attention, and being able to keep myself, like my energy, from spiking or diverting.
Yeah. Okay, great. Raise your hand, everybody, if you resonate somehow with what Jonathan just said. Yeah, like, okay, having, a safe space without lookings from outside, but also no time, somehow like no time pressure, also something like that as well. Yeah, okay, so raise your hand, I'm sorry. Just wanted to see. Yeah, okay, yeah, I resonate a lot with you as well. Great, thank you, Jonathan. If you want to add anything else. Yeah, I'm 1000% on the privacy and dynamism from Rachel as well. Thank you.
And I really admire all of you that are able to do it without a worry in the world about what anybody thinks, which is great.
It's taken me years, okay, to let the attention move from outside to here and don't care. So it can take some time.
So the key aspect in learning insight reflections for me, I constantly have this vision of blocked thoughts. And I described it to Claudia as like, if you've ever seen these crystal caves where these crystals slowly grow into their formation and they crisscross and they're hard and they won't be moved. And I kind of feel like all the things that I have, are always like, again, this Venn diagram of things in life that are locked up for me and difficult and frustrated. So I found that the practice helped me it doesn't get rid of anything, but it creates space be able to move around those things more freely and not feel as encumbered by those things. And just to summarize it, the impact of it was that I started using this practice, or I found, I don't know about actively using it, but I found that I was practicing it. For example, if I couldn't sleep at night, I would imagine some of the dynamics I was thinking about, the energies I was thinking about during my practice, or with my children where they're stuck, you know, or they have their crystals that are embedded and sharp. I tried to like use it to create space in those conversations and in those areas. And by diverting their attention to nature. And then lastly, Claudia and I had spoken about one of the things I was experiencing was like the gravity of things, right? So the gravity of the sun, the gravity of the stars, the gravity of the earth, the pull of between all things one to another. And so I just started becoming more aware of like that kind of in different environments. I have more curiosity about the gravity and currents of particular spaces. And that's
Interesting. Scott, thank you, Jonathan. Yes. And Claudia, would you like to add anything from your side, since you are the body? What was your experience of these 3 weeks in synergy with Jonathan and with the practices?
Yeah, for the practices, actually, I thought that I was going to be, my plan changed actually, like the activities that I connected to. In the end, I did the sort of the tree one became my daily one. And then the walk also was the one that I found really interesting, like out with my normal daily like practices, I suppose, because where I live actually we have quite a strong embodiment practice every morning, so it's something that like I'm quite used to doing, but the relationship that I've developed with like one particular tree like over these weeks and days has definitely been a lot stronger because I've just been going like to the same tree, and normally it's like the body movement. The walking, what I find really interesting is actually like being able to be out and about, and then just like it's connecting naturally. So last night when I took the dog for a walk, it's like I could really kind of visualize. I was having more of a visualization of like the physical kind of, I don't know, like imagining like the muscles or like the actual body walking, but from like an outside perspective or something, which is interesting because I was present with the dog and with like the rest of the nature around, but then also kind of really feeling into the physical sensations of those movements as well. So what I definitely do notice is when I don't go to the actual practice that we do together, then I imagine like, oh, it's going to be so simple to continue it myself, but actually that intention kind of somehow it's like much more difficult to really like stick with the intention. Like the walk seemed to be a bit more simple, but the other parts of like carving out the time for a connection with a tree or the somatic activation, definitely like I need to lead more with intention without having that sort of space that we normally have here in the mornings as well. But it's been really, really amazing and helpful to connect with Jonathan, and then we can share the experiences, and yeah, like really like creates that sort of like inspiration and that energy to like the resonance and also the differences as well. Like I really appreciate both because it's like different perspectives, and yeah, it's been really, I really, really appreciate that side of it as well.
Thank you, Claudia. And how would you define the main impact that these 3 weeks have had on you, like before and after? Is there any difference that you may mention?
I think one of the biggest ones is the connecting to the sort of like to the body when I'm on the move, because yeah, it's something, I guess it's like something out with, because we practice something like social presence and theatre every morning with these stages. So it's something different, and it really like connects to, I don't know, it's like I feel like it's almost like building like this network and web of different ways of embodiment and connection, and then this has been like adding to this web like with different perspectives and different activities. Like I absolutely love like this realm, and like I always feel like there's just so much, I don't know, it's just like such a rich space to play in. And so like every morning, actually, even like the connection with the tree, for example, even though it's the same activity, it's like so different every day depending on like my like what's happening for me in the moment, what's happening in the social field, and also even like how I perceive like the difference with the tree. Or there's a baby was born in the community like 3 days ago, so it's like bringing different energy. So there's like a lot of things happening. I think that even with the same activity, there's a lot of difference each day.
like an expansion of awareness from your body. Thanks a lot. Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to share? Yes, please, Agatha. We have seen so many of your beautiful places. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Well, it was an amazing experience, both individual and together with Rachel. And it was awesome when we were connecting together and sharing nature stories. And I was sharing something, then we were like in a flow. Something, what I said triggered some memories in Rachel, and she was sharing, and it was like a fluidity of learning, which was awesome. In terms of my plan, well, I love structure, but I also love flexibility. And although I put everything in my structure, I decided not to follow it to the dot. I decided to connect deeply with my body and actually choose the practices that were in tune with me on the particular day. So I was practicing every morning and at least for 20 minutes. So it was a combination of at least 2 practices. But it wasn't like I was practicing the same things every day. And since I love diversity, it kind of it makes me. It felt so good to actually follow this body intelligence and choose what works for me on a particular day. And for example, one day I felt so very sleepy during the day and it was raining. And I said to myself, it's time for my mindful walk. And it was such an awesome experience to actually walk in the rain. And it was so very different from the other walks I did when it wasn't raining. And I must say that this practice, together with the tree gazing that I was actually doing always sitting, they brought the deepest insights and learning in terms of my topic and the challenge that I was having. So this was something that I was actually doing several times a week. So I get those answers, and they were like kind of like fueling me. And what I did, I put my Pratica Arborea on my calendar because I knew that this is something that will require more of my time and more attention. And honestly, on the day that I planned it, when my alarm clock rang, I said to myself, oh my God, I'm so tired. But then I said to myself right after, no, but this is my Pratica Arborea day. So I need to go. I want it. I feel it in my whole body. And oh my God, this was an amazing experience. So deeply, profoundly connecting me with my tree. Honestly, I ended up in tears. I was shivering and in some moments even spasmodic until the calm kind of came in. But so many things unlocked during that practice. And oh my God, I wanted more. I so want to do it more. It's kind of technically impossible for me to go there every day, but I would like to do it at least twice a month. And what actually happened, the tree that I chose, I noticed that tree a while ago, and we were living in a different place. and I was kind of drawn to that tree. And when I was sitting and actually doing the tree gazing the first time with that tree, when I asked it whether it will allow me to practice with it, a leaf landed in my hand.
Wow.
And you know, that was the sign. And it was like almost like the tree remembered me from before, when I was going there and kind of looking at it, and like 2 years ago or something. So it was an amazing energy exchange as well. And what also happened during my mindful walk, I discovered another birch tree, because that one was a birch. I discovered a birch tree that I didn't notice, although it's literally like a minute on the left from my house. And what is amazing with that place is that there was a huge tree, and the trunk was cut down to the level of the grass. So there is this spot that I was actually sitting and tree gazing with the other tree. And I kind of felt the connection with two different birch trees. And I kind of have this feeling that I am the connector between two of them as well. They are not too close to each other, like 10 minutes by bike apart. But I kind of have this feeling that the energy exchange between three of us is there. And when I'm sitting there, honestly, it's in front of my house. So people are walking by, but I am able to connect so deeply with one and the other tree, which is actually next to the church, where the people are also coming by. I am able to disconnect. I was very resonating with what Jonathan was saying about the privacy, and actually that was one of the conversation we had with Rachel as well. But at some point, it didn't matter to me. I was able to be so in such a deep connection with the nature, with the tree I was working with. I didn't notice anything. I didn't hear anything, only the nature sounds. And even if the people were talking something, it was like almost like a buzz of something unrecognizable. So it was absolutely, absolutely awesome. And to kind of conclude with this main impact and the benefit, it is definitely connecting very deeply with the intelligence of my body, and being in tune to the point that, for example, when I'm cutting a bread, I kind of hear this, okay, don't do it this way because it's only the last piece and you can cut yourself. So put it down and cut it lying down, not this way. To this point, like to those tiny little details that kind of started to reformulate, reshape the deepness of my nature connection. So to kind of just a wow. That's my outcome from all of this. A wow. Huge, big awe towards nature and the connection I created with it in forms of those three connections that I have now, and also being in a moment and kind of in a oneness with it.
Thank you, Agatha. Lovely stories. And from what I've heard, it seems like birches have something for you. This is a suggestion I want to give to everybody. We're going to talk more about it when we talk about biomimicry in one of the next webinars. But for now, the idea is that if you find a special connection with a certain specific tree or any kind of plant or animal, research that, in your case, Agatha, the birch, research mythologies, research where birches prefer to live, what's their ethology, if we may speak of ethology with regards to plants, but it seems like yes. Sometimes it's just not that we choose a tree casually, like by chance, but the trees that somehow we end up practicing with have perhaps a message for us. And so for me, researching everything about their lifestyle or environment preferences and mythology and stories about those beings can provide further insights on our topics. At least this is my experience. So thank you, Agatha. Rachel, what was your experience of budding with Agatha?
Yeah, it was great to have some external accountability for the process, because it's easy for me to have like grand intentions and sketchy follow through. And the grand intentions were still there. Like we first talked, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do my practica arborea, on the day of the full moon. It's gonna be like this symbolic thing in addition to like once a month. And when it came down to it, like practical considerations and like the privacy issue, like the only tree around me easily accessible is in my front yard next to a quite busy street, and my comfort level is also not in the I'll just hug a tree in the middle of public today. So it was interesting to, I guess, have to meet myself where I am. And it felt a bit like, as I was thinking back on it, like sort of like evolution. Like you don't start at the end. Like I can only start where I am with like what I have and the limitations that I have and the expectations that I have and the behaviors that I have. And what can I do for what I know about what can I do from here? And like what's the next shift in my evolution. And for example, it was, I know that I'm just better at doing daily practices at night, and so I do them just before I go to bed. Like that's the only way for me to get started doing it. And what I discovered was that I was having like there was a barrier in like standing up to do the somatic activation practice. For some reason it just felt awkward for me, and so I said, okay, where are you? And so I sat on my bed and did it, and that just made it so much more accessible for me. So yeah, I think that like what's good enough and letting the practice evolve from where I am, and challenging myself to evolve from where I am was a really important takeaway for me out of this.
Thanks a
And
lot. Please, sorry.
I was just going to say, and topic-wise, it just fascinated me when you asked about the topic. I was like, what topic? Because like the actual practice of like doing something regularly, I think was such a it was an undertaking for me. And when the guided audio ended, I turned it off and I went about the rest of my life. And I did not engage with my topic almost at all. So it's like I'm a little embarrassed to say that, but just on a real like being real level, I was very much just like, how do I get this practice going? And I did not engage with my coaching topic very much. That said, I think my learnings are critical to that kind of thing anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all. I mean, what happens is the best thing that can happen to you. So it's totally fine. And thank you for reminding this important principle. Start where you are with what you have. No need to overcomplicate things. And in fact, I was asking this, this question about what's changed in your practice, because very often I notice that we start like with great big plans of overdoing everything. And then we compare that with our daily lives, which are usually already very messy. And so we really go to the essence. And usually we do this for 2 months. So now it was a bit short, 3 weeks. But as you will soon discover, the chance is that you keep on doing this budding and practicing until the end of the course, since the very final webinar will be focused on your next steps. So I want to say it right now, if you want to keep on practicing what you are doing, your plan, the changes you did, whatever, with your body until September 18th, which will be our last session, this would be ideal. And you're really welcome to do it, everybody. Also because the next webinars will provide additional contents that you can then apply to your practices and look at your practices from these additional lenses that we will be discussing. So it would be a great idea if you want to keep on working with your body. So your choice, of course. And thank you, Rachel, for your sharing. Anybody else? We still have 20 minutes, but I'm planning to stay more if anybody is willing to stay more and share more. So I don't have anything happening in 20 minutes, but let's see who wants to speak. Oh, Brent.
I would like.
Yeah, so we have Brenton, Agustina, and then voila. Please, Brenton.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Great stories. I had going back to the question I had. I'll probably go into that just a little bit. Mine was more about my behavior, looking at that, and probably our behavior as humans. And looking at the behavior in nature. So it's quite a broad question. That's where I'm at the moment and looking at that. So in the respect of my plan, I was budding with someone, but she had to go from the program. So I made Diana aware of that. Diana knew. So I sort of showed Diana what I was doing and what I wanted to do, and then I just went on my way and did it. I did about five. I had an ecosomatic practice and activation every day. Really quickly, that was to do with the jade tree, which connected me to my grandmother, who was my strongest, most beautiful woman in my life. So there was a really, really strong connection, and that helps me to stabilize myself every day. She's been very powerful in my life. So, and that jade trees means, I've studied it a bit. There's a few things about it, but it means it's the lucky tree. So it's got different connections. So I think with that connection, I think it is really, really important to study that. If it's a plant or an animal or whatever, having a really strong connection there, I think for me, is really important. I did practices with trees with a osprey that I go to, a bird on the beach. And also I did some arbitrary with the trees. What I did do, because I'm sort of in nature a lot myself, what I did too with the practices, which it was teaching me as well, is say for the tree, I used to climb trees as a child, collecting thousands of eggs. So I was wondering how present I really was, or was I hungry just to get the eggs? So I'm really curious. So what I did is I went and climbed back up a tree, and I laid in the tree. And when I was doing that, I looked at it a completely different perspective. I wasn't climbing that tree to get the eggs. I was connecting myself with that tree. So it was a really different experience. So what I did to help myself, I also got a little recorder. So I laid down on that tree, closed my eyes, and I've got a little noise recorder. I recorded all the noises. So then I come home and listen to that and all the birds and everything else. So it was so powerful. Then that showed me and was enabled me to listen to those things. So when I went back, I didn't record it. And then I sat there, and it was so much more powerful of that connection to everything else around me, and also back to the tree. So that was really powerful for me. It was a tool. I'm looking for tools to help myself and help others if I'm going to do this. So it was really good. So the tree and the arbitrary, the biggest thing with the arbitrary was the grounding. What I felt was a big tree, the grounding into the ground. It showed me that. It was so good with my feet and spending the time and looking and feeling the tree. It was so powerful and so strong. Like that was the thing that probably, because I've sort of probably lost a bit of strength in myself. So that was a really strong connection. just a few other things. What I did also, I did walking on the beach, and what I have a place I normally walk, a special place on the beach, and what I did was I went for that walk the first time, and I didn't really focus on the practice. And what I did was timed it. I actually timed it because I go 100 miles an hour. So the next time I looked at the information that you'd given me, Diana, and then what I did was I timed it again. But what I did was is I went and did the practice. The time was double. The time was less, like the time I first did was double. It was like slowed me down enormously. Um, and I just think that was so powerful. That was massively powerful for me. Um, just with, yeah, to connect so much with it. And then you see, hear, feel so much more when you do that. So this has been pretty profound for me to sort of enable me to connect a lot stronger. So it was a lot for me about the senses, all my senses, everything was about that for me. Um, the hearing of the sea, the bird. When I sit with the bird and I take my camera as well. So my camera photos are taken outside of that, but I always make sure at the moment you always have a I can tell you exactly what it looks like now. I don't have to look at a photo, but I can tell you exactly what's going on with that bird, for example. But I think the photo is really important also as a reflection initially, and that can give you a bit more reinforcement. But with the bird, looking at the bird, it's eye contact. I'm not far away from her and him, male and female, eye contact, all that sort of, and the breathing part, Diana, actually the part of really connecting and giving yourself when you're breathing, I thought that was really good for me because it sort of felt like I could really communicate with my spirit. I go there all the time. I have forever. And that part when you earlier today when you were doing you doing your practice this morning, like when we got together, I was flying like the eagle because like the osprey. I was floating when we're doing the movements and gliding and feeling that, when they and also he was hunting. He hunted and caught a fish while I was there. The male did. So it was really, really interesting because it changed in dynamics, and that's what nature does. It changes constantly. So it was really interesting. I absolutely loved that part. So my plan changed in parts, but I really tried to use it as a teaching tool and a learning tool. Reflection. Um, reflections. I'm just trying to answer your questions and relevance. Really resonated with the first lady that spoke. I also was able to go camping with my son. So I went out into general nature. I left all the practices behind. But when I was walking and camping with my son, I think the more I can blend this without forcing it and it being natural is the key. So I do that anyway, but for me, it was more about understanding that more. And so when I went out camping and we went walking a lot, um, the connection was different. You were able to still be relaxed. You're not having to try and force yourself. You've got to do this, or you've got to hug a tree, or you've got to do that. It just automatically happens. All of a sudden, I can smell the smell. I was saying to my son, "Can you smell that plant?" So go back and have a look at it, and that's what we did. And then found a species of plant because we had massive fires here. So I found a plant I hadn't seen, and so that was a new plant. So there's a lot to this. I think this is very, very powerful once you get it. But one other thing, the part about the practice, and everyone's worried about people looking and people seeing. I think I laughed because I went to Duck Lagoon here, and it's actually a public place. So people are coming in all the time, driving in, and I'm wanting to do the practice on the tree. And this gentleman's there, and he cleans the bins. He comes from the council, so he's cleaning the bins. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to think I'm mad. He's going to be looking across at me, hugging a tree. And I'm thinking, is he going to come and tell me off? And then I thought about it. And I think there's another element to what we're talking about here, that there's also that awareness of if people are not aware, it probably looked pretty strange for them. I'm not trying to be. I'm thinking of that, so it's really interesting. So that correlation is sort of like I was wondering what he was thinking, and then was he thinking, am I queer? Am I strange by what I'm doing? It's really interesting, but so I think there's a bit in that what people are saying and finding that safe space. I'm lucky. My safe space. I just go out in nature and no one's there in a lot of ways where I am. So I think it'd be extremely hard in the cities and that sort of thing. So um, and I think that comes back to us and councils and that we need to look at this and be able to set up those environments, safe places for people and not be judged or that sort of thing. So don't know if that helps, but I think that's where I'm at. Yeah, what I've written, I hope I've answered it. But it was great. Loved it. Yep, loved it.
Thank
And I think this is very unique. To me, it's unique. But probably one other thing it is working with people. I think a lot of people who are not aren't connected in this way at this stage. The balance is going to be really hard because I think our world is probably 70-30 sort of nature to the other. To have people hugging trees, or if they want to call it hugging trees, but to have that connection is pretty extreme. So I think it's a balancing act. And if we can get it back to 50-50, I think we've got to, I think that's the chart. That's the way I'm looking at it. If I was to work with people and help people in this area and make them more aware, I'd be trying to balance that 50-50. So, yeah, but I loved it, Diana. Thank you very much. It's brilliant. Loved it.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you also for sharing beautiful photos via email with me. And thank you also for pointing out that practice should permeate our daily endeavors. So the idea is that, that we should tend over time to not split practice and daily life, but make the ordinary extraordinary by integrating those kind of awareness. And the extraordinary in the ordinary is one of the concepts that we will see in one of the next webinars relating to practice of organic work, which is one of the big roots of our work. From Maya Cornatia, which is one of our trainers. We will talk more about this, but definitely thank you for pointing this out, which is the possible or necessary overlapping between practice and ordinary life, daily life. So thank you.
One other thing, sorry, Diana, just really quickly, the osprey, like we're communicating with the tree and we don't get a voice back as such. Like we don't get a voice back, but I do get things back. But the osprey, the father, he knew I was there. She knew I was there. He come over and told me off. He's telling me off. He's communicating with me and squawking with me above me in the air. He's communicating with me. So it's finding that balance. Like he is saying, you need to go. And he had that fish in his claws. He wasn't going back to the nest until I left. So it's a teaching. He was teaching me it's time for me to go. He needed to feel comfortable to land onto that nest. As soon as I moved away, he went and landed. So that I just love that part. And that's us learning in nature. I think that was that. So that part's really good. Like I love that. So I hope that helps.
Thanks a lot, and you make me want to share with you. Perhaps you know this film, this movie with gosh, I don't remember the name of the lady. The Animal Communicator is the movie. Raise your hand if you've ever heard it. No? Yes. So I got you. I would share this movie. It's amazing. It's with John Young and I don't remember the name of basically the protagonist but I will share it in the next workbook. The Animal Communicator is really an amazing movie talking about the experience of this ethologist and how she actually set up this whole new field of communicating with animals. She's like the pioneer of this. Now there are many animal communicators, trainers, and teachers all over the world. She's one of the first one, and she's in South Africa. Great movie, a bit, I mean, it's like 10 years old, but I'm sure you will appreciate it. Thank you, Brenton. We need to move to Augustina. What would you like to share? Before Augustina starts, if you have to go in 5 minutes, I would just like you to focus. What are you taking away from all these sharings? You know, what's the meaning you give to this sharing? What are you making of this sharing that we are doing? We will talk more about this in the next webinars, but just if you have to go before Agustina finishes or Maria shares, just focus on what are you taking away from these stories and from this collective sharing. And that said, go Agustina.
Yeah, well, hello. I'm gonna be like very short, but well, I was in a couple with Sandra. I love it, and it was like a very nice place to go every week, and I felt like I learned a lot about her questions and her reflections, and it was like we were very aligned. I felt that it was like I think that it was a very important part of this practice, these meetings together. And the question, if the plan changed, yes, and I feel something similar that Jonathan and Rachel said. It changed like in two ways. On the one hand, I thought I'm in Mexico City, and I thought that I was going to go outside to be with a tree, and I do my practice here in my house with the mandarin tree, with the plants I have here, and I felt that was okay. And like a reflection about that, I feel like if we were all together, like I understand the power of the group, and I like it if we are all doing a practice, it's like comfortable. But if I'm like the only one in the city, in the street, and the other ones are doing another thing, I will get distracted. And so I do it here. That was like the first change. And the second one was that perhaps I start like with, I'm gonna do this, and it didn't go that way. And that was something that I like with Sandra, that the first meeting that we made, we were like, well, perhaps it was a little bit harder for the two of us to do it every day, but like we connect with being this kind mother with us, and well, we are learning this, so we have to like, don't be bad with us, but we are learning, we are giving our first steps, so we connect with that. We said like, look us and have this nice smile with us while we are moving forward. So that was very nice to move forward with the practice, but with that kind mother that we are our own mothers, not like we are learning. So I like that. And I will finish with the insight. Perhaps it's very simple, but what I like is like, I always feel like I start the practice more tense, like more rigid. I don't know how to say it in English. And at the end of the practice, I'm always like flexibility, movement. I always note that difference. So I really like that. And the last thing is that I feel like I'm starting to have like memories with the mandarin tree, like with my trees. I always love my plants here, but now I look at them and, oh, that day I feel that you said me that. It's like I'm starting to have memories with them, and I like that. And that's all.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. How have these practices changed the relationship with your daily companions, your houseplants? How has your relationship changed?
I feel like for the better, that like you at the beginning you said like the tree as a subject and the plant as a subject, and now I'm feeling that I wake up and I see them and I have these memories, and the things that they said to me, they were nice. That was something that I say, Sandra, sometimes I don't know if I am saying the things or if it's the plant, but it feels nice. So I say, well, I feel that if the plant is saying me, I don't know, expand, well, it feels nice. So I resonate with that. But for a better way, obviously, yes, I feel more connection with them.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Agustina. Very, very nice stories. There's a part of our training that covers the concept of genius loci, which is like the spirit of place. And it feels like recalling this after your sharing, because not only the plants or the living subjects in our house have an idea of us or a relationship with us, but I personally feel that also our house as a whole, as a perception of us, as somehow an identity, because of all the experiences we have in our houses, the stories that circulate, the emotions that circulate. In my perception, it's like my house is collaborating with my life. And so perhaps my house has an idea about me. And sometimes looking at our house, just like we do with the planet or with the plant or an animal, it's like understanding the subjectivity of those living beings. Perhaps it's easier because they are evidently alive, and this is perhaps more awkward to think about our lived environments, our houses. But in my experience, and also in my ancient ancestors, the ancient Romans, they also had this concept of the spirit of the house. And they were all the time tributing honors and rituals to the spirit of the house. Who knows? Maybe it can work for you too, this kind of concept. And yeah, so it was just a little add to build upon what you said. So it's we should be done. But so if you have to go, I thank you for being here in this webinar. But if there's anybody else who wants to stay a bit longer and share their experience, or if you have any question, you can place it in the chat so I can record my answer to that. So any question related to the practices that you found in the online area, or anything else regarding the topics of our course, and you have to go and cannot ask it live, just place it in the chat before you go so I can address it. Otherwise, if you all have to go, bye-bye. But just raise your hand if you can stay 5 or 10 minutes more. So yeah, Agatha can, and Brenton, and oh yeah, okay, so let's stay. So if you have to go, thank you for showing up tonight. Ciao, Jonathan, and we'll see you in the next session. You will receive an email with some additional questions to take out some value from this session. And for now, bye-bye. And let's listen to somebody else. So Debbie or Sandra, perhaps, because you wear the body. So if you want, do you have anything you would like to share?
Hi, everybody.
Ciao.
Yes, well, for me, it was also a nice experience. And yes, we felt very connected, and we inspire each other. And that was really a rich experience, and also very caring, very sweet. And Diana, you know, me and routine and practice is something very challenging. And yesterday I shared with Agustina that I still don't want to begin the practice. I had in my head the idea that I should be enthusiastic before I begin the practice. And yes, that stopped me somehow, yes, didn't help me. And I could realize that it is a decision that I want to do this practice, and look what it comes out. And yes, I don't ask me if I like the practice before, but I ask it after, and it's always a yes. And so I decide every day. It's a decision. It's sometimes not so an easy decision to practice. And yes, and that I can appreciate it after and not before. That's my awareness.
Still feels like a burden or a duty.
Yes, at the beginning it's so for me.
Okay, but then you appreciate the benefits.
Yes.
Okay. And so has this budding somehow supported in developing consistency with your practice? Or appreciating it more? I don't know.
It was in the sharing that it helped me. So we found yes, we could share where everyone had difficult to stay consistent with what they choose, and we decided to be very carrying this idea that we don't want to have the judger with us, but yes, to feel what we really want and to do our best. And that was for me this connection on this idea was for me helping.
Great, thank you, Sandra. And anybody else? Debbie, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm a little late today. I don't know if my partner presented or not. Carl, if he shared.
Carl is here, but now not anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, well, he's my partner. We didn't get to connect much, but it was still good to know that there was someone in my own state of Colorado participating in the program. So that was really sweet to discover.
So Carl is from Colorado, like you?
Yes, we thought it must have been connected because we're both from Colorado, but now it sounds like that was just a synchronicity.
Absolutely. No, I wasn't aware. I didn't notice that. Oh, that's great really, then.
Yeah, that's funny. So we're both here. My topic, when I sank into the intelligence of nature and I first put, what was this, a month ago, put my topic or my question out there, I could have never anticipated the journey the answering of that question would take me on. It's been extremely powerful. Unfortunately, it's not the direction I had hoped to go, because what happened was I realized that what was getting in the way, my question was about what was getting in the way of what I need to do, what I hope to do. And it was unresolved trauma. So it took me on an unresolved trauma journey. And luckily, I had the trees there. I just happened to have been enrolled in a retreat with trees, with Ute prayer trees. So in the area I live in, we have indigenous people known as the Ute Indians. Of course, now they're
Say it again.
The Ute.
What's the name of it?
UTE.
Ute. Okay, yeah. Okay, Ute. Yeah.
And so I've been spending a lot of time with Ute prayer trees. They're all over our forest. I wish I could share a picture of one. Maybe at some point I will. But they're intentionally modified trees for different aspects of when the Utes were here 8,000 to 10,000 years ago in this area, to represent or give thanks to the Creator. Very spiritual. They're all spiritually intended. Burials, women would use them to give birth. Direction markers. A lot of them will face towards their mountain called Tava, the Sun Mountain, which was holy to them. So I wound up spending a lot of time with these trees, and I was listening to Brenton talk about, what you hear from the tree. And it's interesting because at first I was bummed because I wasn't hearing hearing from the tree, but when you were talking, what I realized what the tree was giving me was comfort, because these are such big, solid beings. And these trees have scar marks where the natives would take the bark and rip it off. They'd make cradle boards. They'd do various aspects with that bark. Medicine. You can lay on those scars. And so I did. So I've been laying down and visiting with these trees for healing. They've been giving me support, strength, and even it's been such an unexpected journey. I feel like I have community in these people that were with those trees at some point in time, hundreds and possibly thousands, no, the trees have a lifespan of about 600 years. So only up to 600 years ago, but still, I don't know, just that community of the people who walked these forests and lived in these forests before me has brought me, the ancestors has brought me so much comfort and healing. And I know that's what I need before I can before I can do what I want to do for nature and other people. So it's been extraordinary.
Wow, sounds like a really profound connection with this tree. And how did you decide to work with this tree? How did it happen?
Well, there's many of these trees in our forests. I actually teach at a college here. So I started teaching about, about these trees about a year ago from a really different point of view, from more of just a scientific point of view. Here's what these trees are, and here's what they were symbolic, and here's what we have to learn. But I never actually practiced with the tree. You know what I mean? Like I've been with the trees, but I never brought this intentional ecosomatic practice to be with the intelligence of the tree. I've always believed in it with all trees, but this was different, I think, because of the intention and the asking. Once you get into that spot out of your head, into that somatic bodily connection with the intelligence of nature, of presenting the question there and having the patience to receive, that's when it happens. I do believe that now. I think you do have to really try to get out of your head and more into your body. So that's how I learned about them, was through teaching at a college.
Your story is really the example of what can happen when we open up without expectations. And even though it's even more powerful because you already had a knowledge about those trees. And despite that, what came up was something different than your knowing here. It was another knowing that was being transferred. So this is really an amazing story. And really thank you so much for sharing this. It's really touching. And it's really, it really touches me a lot. Even the aspect that what you got was so out of your plans.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really, it didn't come from your mind. It came from a different relationship with that being. Very interesting. And Janine Benyus, she's a scientist who popularized biomimicry. She says, learning about nature is one thing. Yeah. Learning from nature is another thing. So it's really it's a different way of receiving information. And gosh, I have so many stories on this also from the participants of my courses. And that's really the place where I like to take people, like have the possibility to experience this possibility. All these things that I'm teaching point exactly to the experience that you described. So thank you.
Yeah. I think it's weird too for me because I'm white. And there's a weird conflict. I'm going to work through that with these trees still, because I'm not a Native American. We've moved them to reservations where they live far from what was their whole world. There was no separation, nature. So there's a guilt. Yeah. And I'm going to figure that part out too.
Yeah. That's another very important piece of reflection, especially for Americans, I would have to say, because in Italy, for example, or in most parts of Europe, we don't have that kind of story of displacing original people or killing original people. So it was just natural evolution and substitution. I mean, Romans and Christians have things, okay, have things in their story to think about, but uh, there's less of that. I think that in the Americas, there's a lot of that, and that's still to be processed, not only individually, but also collectively. So this is a very, very huge topic, and I wish we could talk more about it, but in this specific short course we can't, but that's a very big topic, but about the healing of our relationship with our land and with the people that were on our lands. So this is really a big topic. Thank you. And
Diana, can I?
please,
Is it
Beto.
all right? Diana, can I just say something? Is that all right? Debbie, I totally relate to you massively. In Australia, it is very similar. I'm extremely, extremely, extremely passionate about this topic, exactly this topic. And it was interesting to hear it from Diana, actually, that it hasn't happened in their country. It's happened very strongly in our country. It's happened in America very strongly of what we have done. I believe that it's so interesting to Diana that a lot of this connection to nature is coming from the European countries very strongly. Now, I've just registered two business names in Australia, Nature Coaching Australia and Nature Coaching on Kangaroo Island. I got those names. There's no one doing it. And biochemically, I've gone and spoken to a lady here that's only just started it. I'm right into that as well, Diana. And it's not even here. So going back to what Debbie was saying, Debbie, that's our problem in our country. Our culture has been set on what we did, and I'm European as such, but my connection to man is, I don't care. It's that strong that I'll back them 100 million miles an hour. What we've done is why we don't look after our country properly. Is because it's the same behaviour of what we've done. So when I go and spend time with Indigenous elders and that, it is absolutely brilliant and their teachings, but we're losing all that connection. So that's the challenge, I think, in our country, in Australia, and I think it's probably in America as well, is to get those people to turn, because there's a real disconnection there, and that's very strong in our country, and I think in America. But the Indigenous people, or the native people in America, or the Indigenous people here, when you get to the elders, and it is so profoundly and it's so brilliant, and we need to go back. It's funny, we sort of run away from our past, but I don't believe that we're really going to get a proper connection in our country, in Australia. I've come off of farming land and seen what it's done. I've seen what we do, and I think we need to go back and deal with that properly, and that's where we'll set a new culture for our country, and that everyone joins together. You know, we had one voice, and we just turned it into a mess here. Done wrong. The government's got involved, done wrong. I think there's a bigger picture here. And Diana, I think that's where us in Australia need to really go, and what you're trying to do and you're doing, I think that's where we need to work at. And I think America probably the same, you know, hear the same stories. So that's really powerful. But Debbie, that's brilliant. That's just, and don't feel the guilt. You know, we do need to feel the guilt, but at the same time, the more you can connect with that, the better off, I believe. The knowledge and the comfort I get from that, and the power I've been given from connecting with the Indigenous people of our country is absolutely brilliant. But what the saddest thing is, we're losing all this connection which they did naturally. Does that make sense? They were connected fully. We are so far away, and the teachings that they can give you, just spending time with them, it's just completely different. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Branton. And I'm also going through the chat and reading some comments. Alison says, really appreciate your anchoring the importance of starting where you are. Rachel, so this was a message for Rachel. The practices definitely turned on an awareness of possibility for engagement during my regular time in nature. So this was a comment from Rachel. Alison, this was lovely. Thanks all for sharing. I've got to pop off to get ready. Okay, sorry. Okay, some other people have to go. So some thank yous again. Some sharing will come from email. Then Laura says, takeaways. Applied our contemplative practices in daily life can be challenging. Personally, this has been my goal for all my practices since ever starting from mindfulness to now Ecosomatic. Just be with the practice without looking for the right spot, right moment, right. It can be 5 minutes and it can be 20 minutes. That depends on the environment. To me, what is more important is feeling the connection from within, and so with the practice. Okay, and then people had to go. And Agatha has a question, please. And also, Agatha, I wanted to recall something very interesting and important you said, which was beside the plans, beside the schedules and everything, I was listening to myself and to the need of the day. This is another very important criteria to decide what and how and when and how long to practice. Your body knows, just ask your body, what are you up to today? What do you want? Where do you want to take me? What is good for me today? This is another very important principle to follow. So just was commenting on that. What would you like to ask, Agatha?
I'm curious how to practice during winter, since winter in Winnipeg especially starts in October, ends in April, and sometimes snow is up to my chest. And it's simply impossible to approach a tree because I would need, a shovel to kind of shovel the way there. And the next day I would need to do the same thing. So I am curious how you practice during winter. And if you have some ideas, in my situation, how to, for example, do the Pratica Arborea, which I totally loved. And I cannot imagine how can I do it in such circumstances.
Okay, I have some photos, but I will post them in our WhatsApp group of me practicing with the tree, with the snow, but not as much. Okay, so in Italy, it rarely snows so much, so I can relate with the problem. So my first answer is about the possibility to practice anyway with the snow, but if it's not too much, because if you have to shovel, then I mean it's going to be a bit hard. So when I was practicing that anyways, with lots of cold in the winter and with the snow, usually I was doing an intense exercise, like running, for example, before for at least 30 to 40 minutes, or walking very fast if you don't like to run, or bike, so to warm up a lot my body. And so then I had at least 15 to 20 minutes of autonomy to stay with the tree, even with that slowness. And practicing in winter is amazing because the whole energy of the tree changes. I mean, it's beautiful to practice in any season, to witness how the tree changes. It's awareness, I would say. It's a state of consciousness. For me in winter, I mean, I don't want to tell you because otherwise I would impose you my experience. So I will not tell you what were my insights, but the energy changes, and it's beautiful to discover that as well. So that's a chance. So warm up a lot before, and then you have 15 minutes or even just 10 minutes of autonomy. Otherwise, you can, okay, I'm not a fanatic of being outdoors or nothing, because if it's very cold outdoors, you have the indoors, and that's fine anyway, because nature is everywhere and it starts with our body. So you can connect with nature being indoors, looking outdoors, or in any place that allows for a pleasant walk without risking slipping and, you know, falling over, like on the ice, for example. Or even just give more value to the indoor experience. So what kind of nature can you focus on in your indoors? Meaning houseplants, your pets, your body, the body of a person you live with. I mean, the solutions can be quite creative. And also there are the audio guided practices where you can work with your imagination, recalling your memories, and just sometimes I did that, like when I could not practice outdoors for some reasons. Sometimes I was practicing with a tree, just using an angle in the walls, okay, and recalling myself with that tree and what I was doing with that tree. So it was a shorter practice usually, because I mean, I was with a wall and not with a living being. So that made some difference, of course. But just for the purpose of recalling some memories and awakening some, you know, feelings and perceptions of integrity inside my body, that worked. And basically, this question also applies to my work with clients when I'm online or indoors. So how can I work with my coaching clients indoors with nature, online with nature? So we have creative ways for doing that, and this includes the nature that we have most accessible. And so to recap, I would ask you, okay, what is available to you in terms of nature, indoors, or just outdoors, a safe place where you can stay and connect from distance? And how can you focus more on the reintegration of your connection with your body? Perhaps using music with natural sounds. There is a great, I mean, YouTube is full of videos who have just natural sounds in it. I don't like a lot natural sounds with like Tibetan bowls or pianos or guitars. I just like natural sounds. But if you like also those sounds, there are a lot of videos of both kinds. And that can be even just 10 minutes of listening to the waves of the ocean, or a stream running, or leaves, or crickets, or whatever sounds give you the sensations you're looking for, and just doing a practice and letting your body respond to those natural sounds. That's another idea, for example, among the many that I have explored. What do you think about these answers?
Yeah, I so love them, and honestly, I do a lot of those things during winter when it is impossible to be outside, and I will definitely try to explore how the area of my chosen tree actually looks during winter, because you know, I'm not biking there during winter, and it is you know, it's 10 minutes by bike, so it's like 20 minutes by walk. So I simply need to explore how it looks and whether the area will allow to practice in closer proximity to the tree. But I definitely, you know, what actually happened thanks to this course is when I was still living with my parents, my mother had a, like, whatever nature being she touched, it flourished. And we had an awesome garden, both in our place, in our grandmother's place. And we had so many plants at home that we were watering them for over 1 hour.
Wow.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm not there yet, but I kind of have this internal feeling that I need more plants at my place. And what I was researching, I was ending up looking for plants that do actually not require too much of an attention, which was kind of unconscious, but it also connected me very deeply with my mom, because her favorite flower, I mean plant, was Hoya, and they do not need to be watered every day. If you forget watering them for 2 weeks, they still, you know, healthy, and they still kind of have this kind of resources of water within them that they will survive. And having 2 kids and sometimes traveling and all those things, they will kind of stopping me from having the plants at home. And now I literally crave them. So it's that's I
think
want
it's
to
like
bring more.
like succulent plants are
Mhm.
offered succulents, and also other ideas that, as I was listening to you, some more things came up, like, well, you can draw nature indoors during winter, drawing, or you know, creating poetry around it, or if you like stitching, or gosh, I don't know what is it in English when you use the wood to, what's the name of it,
Knitting?
knitting, exactly. So there are ways you can use your creativity as well to explore nature in different ways. And also, I recall the saying of the scout world, where they say there is no bad weather, there's just bad equipment, and perhaps with the right equipment, even connecting with the snow, for example, can be useful. And also, okay, on snow, we will talk about this, perhaps we'll see if we have time to do all this, but when we talk about the natural archetypes, um, one of the archetypes is the desert. The white desert, which is the white landscape because of the snow or ice, is one of the archetypes. And it really invites lots of reflections on emptiness, on, you know, having a blank page in front of you. So snow is really somehow, you talked about awe before, is really awe generative, I think. Even when it's snowing or just the snow or ice, the color, there's a lot of reflections that can come also just from contemplating the snow. So you will get your curiosity during winter, see where it leads you.
Awesome, I cannot wait.
Yeah, and in Italy especially, you know, there is this resistance to bad weather because we are so used to sunshine and, you know, being warm, that practicing during winter is one of the big topics in Italy, because we basically don't like cold. But I was like that before starting to connect more with nature. As soon as I started connecting more with nature, before I was just a summer lover, and then I came to love all the seasons, all the different shades of the different passages of weather. And yeah, I think that the more we cultivate connectedness to nature, the more we appreciate it in any season, and we find creative ways to connect with it in any season. So this is my experience, at least. So girls, it's really time to say goodbye. I so appreciate that you have been here so far. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in a couple of days. Ciao.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
It's been lovely to finally listen to your voices and connect with you through our hearing.
You too.
Thank you. Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye now.
Ciao, ciao.